Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm today's host, Coleman Hodges. Joining us today, 7-time Olympic medalist, Olympic champion, and former Special Forces World's Toughest Test contestant, celebrity, Nathan Adrian. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks, Coleman. It's good to be back.
This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. I always enjoy talking with you. And this is under a different guise this time, or under a different framing, because as I mentioned, you were on Special Forces, which is a celebrity TV show. I'm going to read a snippet just to give our listeners who don't already know a little taste of what this entails. So Special Forces takes 16 celebrity recruits on tests actual recruits face during the famously difficult U.S. Special Forces selection process. And this is led by a team of ex-Special Forces operatives. Other celebrities in this season 3 cast included Denise Richards, Stephen Baldwin, and Cam Newton, among many, many others. I'm curious, just first off, how did you get involved with this, and what made you say yes to this experience?
I mean, it was a call from my agent, and they were just saying Fox Casting reached out and wanted to check in, see if I was interested. And I had actually never seen the show before, so I kind of took a look at it, did a little bit of research, and it was totally up my alley in terms of like if there was any reality show that I was going to participate in, it's certainly this one. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward, except that like just the logistics of me being gone are just a lot more difficult now that Hallie and I have 2 kids and she has a job, and so trying to figure out childcare and how to kind of I have a fairly flexible situation running the swim school, so like I bridge a lot of gaps there. So like when I'm gone, it's like, well, how are we going to do this? She's going into the office a lot. So there was some logistic issues, but once we got that sorted, I was really excited.
Yeah. Tell me about just the logistics side of it. When did it film, and how long was the actual filming, or just how long did you end up being away in total?
Let's see. I can't remember the exact number of days, but we were there maybe 4 or 5 days before filming started to do a bunch of media. And yeah, we were in like, oh gosh, where was it? It was the town that, what's that Apple TV show about I'm totally blanking. Apple TV show about the soccer coach.
Oh, Ted.
Yes, Ted Lasso. It was the city that Ted
Lasso.
Lasso occurs in. We were hanging out there. It was awesome. And then they took us to Wales, and then we got that party started. And in theory, we're supposed to go 10 days. But at this point, it's clear I was a little. I was eliminated a little early, so I only made 3 of them.
Okay, and then did you go home pretty immediately after that then?
No, sadly, I did not. Some other people were able to.
Okay.
Some of the contestants that were like upset, they were like, give me the first flight out of here. I don't care. And I think the producers or the production assistants were just like, okay, well, I can get you on one tomorrow. And like, I'm pretty sure they even looked up like what the closest flight was, and they were like, I'm going to take an Uber to London and leave tonight.
Uh-huh.
For me, I got my first experience with the NHS. So I broke my nose. I had to be cleared by all sorts of doctors. Apparently, there's like this thing that I don't remember what the medical term is for it, but it's basically a bruise inside your nose. And if it happens and they don't like clear it out and fix it right away, like the cartilage in your nose can die. So your nose collapses and you'll have to get a nose job. So they
Okay.
had to make sure they had to like go in. I don't remember if they x-rayed or if they just used a scope to make sure everything was okay. But I had to get basically cleared by a doctor that wasn't going to happen. And like the NHS, they were fine. I mean, I think I was in the like their emergency room maybe 6-8 hours or something at first, but then like they were like, oh yeah, and then we can get you an appointment with the ENT in 3.5 weeks. And I was like, huh, we're gonna have to try to maybe figure that out. And then so I had to go to a private doctor. So this is just like I had like a little medical tourism thing going on in the UK. So we figured out the private doctor. They cleared me, and then I flew home. So I was stuck. It was pretty brutal, to be honest. I mean, I was very excited about being on the show, about participating, and then I'm just stuck in this. Basically, this was this hotel in Wales that we were at was all built to be for this like artificial wave pool that they made. So like surfers are all about it, except the pool is broken. So like there was basically just an artificial big pond in the middle, and then like that was kind of it. And then this like hotel. So I was just sitting there twiddling my thumbs at this place in Wales. It's a beautiful place, but there's just nothing around to do, and stuck there for 2 or 3 days when I'm like, I know the people that are still competing in the show were going and doing like these awesome adventures.
Yeah, man, that is that does suck.
Yeah, it wasn't super cool.
I mean, yeah, that a very stark juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
Between what you were doing and then again what your fellow contestants were doing, and then what you ended up doing. But I'm glad you made it home okay. I'm glad your nose isn't dead on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. So you agree to do it. You go over there. Tell me about just those first 5 days with the media, and especially just getting to know the cast, which is there, you've got actors, you've got other former athletes, you've got the other Olympians,
Hmm.
but it in some ways I'm like, oh, this is like maybe like a national team trip, but again, such a big diversity of contestants, and you're all going into the same thing together, but obviously you've come from such different backgrounds. What was it like just spending time with them and getting to know them?
Yeah, so it was interesting comparison there. So actually, the first when we were there at the beginning, they were so protective of us because they wanted to catch all of our interactions on film. So there were 16 of us staying in this hotel, and every time you left the room, you had to like text somebody, tell them where you were going, how long you were going to go for, etc. And they made sure that like you didn't run across people in the hallway. I think inadvertently I did run across Golden Tate in the hallway. Like he was walking towards the pool to do his like little swim test. I was walking away from the pool. But that was the only interaction that I had for anybody. Like otherwise you were just stuck in that room, or you were like escorted from your room to the front where you like got into a taxi or a car, and then you went to where they were like filming our interviews and things. So
Mm.
those were like pretty isolating, not super fun days. But then like as you get to like when we were actually able to see each other, then I think we were all kind of like cooped up and ready to be social again, and they caught all that on film, and it was great. Um, but like even just kind of going through that process a little bit, we were in like the London area for a while, and then we went to Wales, and maybe we spent a day or two in Wales. They were just like all sorts of little logistic things, like do your boots fit? Does your outfit? I don't know if your gear fit appropriately. All that kind of stuff. Like I wear contact lenses. Dude, I have enough. Like, I'm gonna put them in this little bag that they're gonna like have in my little cot area thing.
Mhm.
And then there was the like when we actually went to go, it was, hey, you guys are ready to go tomorrow, and then they look at you and they'd be like, well, your call time's a little bit early, and I was like, okay, cool. But we had to be out front, ready to go in the taxi cabs at like 3:30 a.m. or something like that. So it was staggered. I think started at 3, and then every 15 minutes until whatever, like 4:30 the latest or something crazy early. And I come to find out, I'm sure of it. It was day one was super long, so like they needed to have us there pretty early. But two, that it was just like starting off with a little bit of sleep deprivation, like just really got the ball rolling in terms of like putting us in a difficult situation. And I don't think that was you kind of see the show and you're like, oh yeah, I could try that, or like that seems so simple, or how like why are they possibly like reacting in that way to it? But like having gone through it, you really are operating at like pretty much on empty the entire time, because like you're starting with sleep deprivation. You're between being jet lagged coming from the West Coast to like London, and then getting up crazy early, and then on top of that they like actually like kept us at like a caloric deficit. They were like, for lunch they were feeding us like like chickpea chips and like maybe like a little sandwich with a tiny bit of turkey in between. So like that first day, there was a lot going on, right? So we all got on the boat and we were all excited to see each other, who was on the cast, like who, then getting to know each other, which was great. And then it all just got started really, really quickly. So like for us, we were kind of like, when's this going to start? Oh, we're on the boat. And then like, there was like this drone flying over and we're like, oh, like, some of the, especially the actors and actresses, they were like, okay, it's probably starting. Something's happening soon. And then here we have it, like the boat, like their boat comes up with the DS, and they come and they're like throwing like flashbang grenades, and they yell at us and they put the bags over our heads and they get everything started.
Whoa. That's intense.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So really you didn't even have time to get to know your fellow comrades, I guess, beforehand.
Beforehand, not at all. But like you do,
Yeah.
like, so yeah, you had these 5 minutes of talking to them before the DS came, and like
Mhm.
they put the potato sacks over our head. They like quickly interviewed you, and then they pushed you in the water, and then you had to swim to shore. And then from there, they did the introduction. And like the other thing about the experience is that like they do a phenomenal job of making everything like feel very, very real. Like there's definitely cameras around, and occasionally you'll see producers and things, and like from the other experiences like that are fairly limited that I've had. But actually it's from the other people who have been on like real reality shows, like on The Bachelor, Bachelorette, you can kind of always talk to the producer about something, or take a time out, or do this or that. And like this is like there was none of that. Like it was
Yeah.
all very directed by them, and then there was the producers and the camera people were there to capture what was happening at the time. There was no do-overs. Like there was no like, hey, oh, I didn't get that shot. That would have been really great. Try it again. So that was it felt very real in that aspect. And then the DS are just, I mean, they are who they are for a reason, and they really know how to like psychologically like do what they intend to do, right? And that intention might be scare you, that intention might be push you, or that intention might be to like pick you up when they're seeing that you need a little bit of help. So that was a really cool experience. And then on the other side, there was some time to get to know the other contestants. We call them recruits. So the other recruits that we got to know in the car rides. So we would be in these Land Rovers in the back, not like the fancy Land Rovers that you see driving around like LA and Hollywood and stuff, but like the like military ones where they're super bumpy. And we were in the back, and they put 4 of us in there, and that along with our rucksack, like we're in pretty close quarters. And while they're getting the shots ready, like there is an aspect of this that is production. So it takes time to get the shots ready and get the, like whatever the next thing is ready to go. They just drove us in circles. So like we were just like driving
Oh my gosh.
and like we'd be like, how much longer do we have? And like they couldn't talk to us. The drivers and the people in the car were like instructed not to talk to us, and they wouldn't even acknowledge we were talking. But like we kind of peeped over their shoulder and looked at the GPS, and they're like, "Oh, it's 30 minutes left." But then like they would take a turn, and they'd be like, "Okay, it's 45 minutes left," and then they take a turn, and it's like, "Oh, it's back to 30," and then they take a turn, and they just keep going. And clearly they were just waiting until they got the green light to arrive wherever we were going to. But for us, we were just little like lab rats. We were in the back. We had no idea. So we'd hang out and chat and talk and, get to know each other. Along with that, like there was time in like accommodations, they called it, where you got to know each other. It's still very stressful, like trying to get to know these people. And again, I was only there for 3 days, but like trying to get to know them when at any given moment, like they could tell you have 5 minutes to get ready, and you have to be like fully dressed, ready to go. Your ruck needs to be like packed perfectly. And if any of these things aren't up to their standard, like the entire team gets punished. So like it's a little bit stressful trying to like be ready to go for all that, because you do not want to be that person who like forces the entire group to go through this like really intense, they call it beasting. It's just like a really intense, workout that like it really takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. Holy. That's yeah. I mean, and again, that's the point of the show, right? It's to be intense. It is to push you and certainly get you outside of your comfort zone. So, starting on day 1, or just moving through those first 3 days before your exit, how do you feel like you were doing on the show in terms of, and I guess if you don't know, or the rules or guidelines of the show, it is unlike many reality competition series in that there are no designated elimination points. Contestants withdraw either voluntarily or medically. So up to your medical withdrawal, how do you feel like it was going?
I was doing fine. I was doing well, I think, actually. So like the helicopter, like we jumped from a boat to a helicopter, and like the helicopter was really far away from the boat for me. I took my steps. I laid out. I tried my hardest to grab the I don't know, the landing gear of the helicopter, and I didn't get it. It was certainly a little bit closer for some of the other contestants, but I did what I could. And then the other one, I don't even think they showed me on the bridge one, but I passed that one. I did pretty well on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a boat sinking. I was doing fine. I was not by any means a liability, and I don't think I was necessarily, if they were keeping score, I don't think I would have been like, the top there, but certainly I was passing my fair share of the tasks, and I thought it was just so cool because I was definitely getting better at them. Like that first one, I was just so nervous with what was going on. Like, there's all these cameras here. I'm like getting to know these people in this new environment, in this new group, like just like overthinking everything. And then like once that initial kind of like those butterflies went away, it just started getting into like the execution mode in terms of like, okay, just do the task, like get it done. And then we started passing the tasks, and then yeah, all of a sudden it was the milling one, or the boxing one.
Yeah, it's for the jumping to the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen. I remember Dwight Howard was in a season of this.
Oh yeah.
So I watched, or I think it was just on TV, and I watched a couple episodes. But so was that a situation where if you didn't get to the helicopter, you had to like climb up the ladder, or it was just you make it or you miss it?
You make it or you miss it. You try to climb, you kind of try to catch the helicopter, and then you got to kind of pull yourself up. So really the best way to do it is like, if you can do a pull up, do a pull up. If you can't do a pull up, just try to swing your leg around and then just like kind of monkey your way up, and then you get in the helicopter. It's a really cool challenge. But for for me, it was just, I don't know how far away it was, but I mean, I was I was definitely fully laid out, and I don't even think I touched the landing gear.
Yeah. Well, that's tough. But as you said, you got better, which it makes sense that you get more comfortable in the environment, and then like you said, you're just trying to execute the task. I have to ask, do you feel like your expertise in swimming helped you in any of the tasks, or just overall in that environment?
All of them. Oh my gosh, there were so many people that were afraid of the water, and like even through all my work with the USA Swimming Foundation, and even like running a swim school, it still just like shocks me like the level of proficiency of swimmers amongst the best athletes in the world. I mean, it is just like they really didn't even show as much as they could have of the beehive, and that was us. Basically, we were just told to jump into cold water and tread. And the thing is, to be fair, like most people can tread, but we did have like combat boots on. And if you haven't treaded water with combat boots on, like they did tell us to like practice it. So I did practice it, and like in my own pool, I jump in. I was like, whoa, you can't use your legs. Like it is, it's not only not beneficial, it's actually, it's hurtful. It kind of like pulls you under. So I kind of knew that going in, but for everybody else, like they jump in, they do what they're used to doing for treading water, which is like kick their feet as hard as they can and just kind of move their hands and get as high in the water as they possibly can to stay out. And then they tell everybody to move in closer. So you're starting to kick people. And every time you get kicked, like, that kind of like pushes you down a little bit. And then on top of that, I mean, we're talking about 50-degree water would be my guess. So it was cold. It was like an ice bath, right? So like we woke up super early that morning. We haven't been really fed that day. We did a task where we jumped onto a helicopter. Did we have another task that day? I can't remember. That might have been the beach day too, where we did like a 2-hour thing on the beach. I can't remember the exact like timeline of it all. But then at the very end of it, they were like, everybody get out. Like we were getting ready, settled in, thinking, are we going to bed now? And then they have us do this thing where we are doing, again, it sounds so simple, treading water, but it's very cold. Also, you can't use your legs, so it really is just kind of vertical sculling. And then like people are fighting you. I mean, their panic reflexes are happening like very like in front of your eyes. And not only that, like people were like, so I think drowning like is a very, very broad definition. It's like, I think the official definition of drowning is something like having difficulty breathing while being in water. And it's like, it's probably maybe a little bit too broad, but like there were active drowning victims like occurring before your eyes. And it was like really jarring for me as like somebody who can like, I take my swim proficiency for granted. And then I also like, I teach it, and I'm really used to seeing a lot of kids who are pretty young and would be able to execute these skills. But like, these are my friends that are in front of me, and they're like waving their arms and then like going under and then getting like pulled back to the wall by like a lifeguard, only to be told to like come back out and then like try to tread water again. Like it's really, really, really jarring. That's actually probably one of the most like poignant moments for me. It was just like what, like how real that felt. And also kind of like the human psychology aspect of it, in that like I was fine the whole time, but like in my head, because there were so many people around me really, truly panicking, like truly, truly panicking. I started feeling it too. I started feeling anxious. I started wondering, like, these people are all panicking. Like, do I need to be panicking? Like, we are social creatures, right? Like, there is just like so much like behavioral psychology research behind that. And I like as much as you read it, to experience it and something that you're so proficient at was like really, really something else for me. Yeah, so that was like a really eye-opening thing. So to actually answer your question, like there was a lot of little things like that with the water that like I just could kind of manage and like didn't increase my stress at all, really. Whereas for the other contestants, I think it really did, right? I mean, trying to tread water and then falling under, but then being told we have another water challenge. Like that is like, I mean, you want to talk about situations where you're like going to get anxious. Like that's it. So yeah, that was that. I definitely had an advantage from that aspect of it. The other thing that I think people probably take for granted, like all of us swimmers, is just like we all have these little like tricks that we like. Everybody has done dolphin kick on their back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for those who have not, and you have to go into the water, like especially backwards, like you're going to get a lot of water up your nose, and you're going to essentially get waterboarded. So like if you don't know to blow bubbles out your nose, or you can't do the thing where you cover your nostrils with your lips, like again, that's just like constant panic. Like it was a really intense experience.
Dang. Got to get some nose pieces up in there.
They gotta get some nose clips for sure. But I mean,
Yeah.
you can see it. You can like some of those clips that they do, you just see people and it's like, you know what happens when you get a bunch of, water in your sinuses. You're going to get all like, snotty, and your like eyes are going to turn red. Like some of those like shots that they got, I was like, oh my gosh. Like every time I went back, I'd just kind of do that, blow some water out my nose and blow some air out my nose, and it was totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like for people who don't know, you don't know. And like, I didn't have time to tell them. Like I tried to tell them the things that like I thought would be helpful, like push the water down, or like take a huge, big, deep, like kind of survival breathing where you just like hold your breath and then you like blow out and then inhale as quickly as you can and then just kind of float there. I tried to tell as much as I could, but like there was not enough time.
Mm-hmm. Dang. The more you talk, the more I'm upset that you got eliminated so early.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like not only were you doing well, but again, you were adjusting, you were adapting, you were getting better, and like you were made for this.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. That's the hard part.
Yeah. So from my understanding of the small clip that I watched,
Mm-hmm.
that you had to box with Cam Newton, and they just
Mm-hmm.
kind of sprung that on you. Did you have any idea that something like that was coming?
Well, we had like I had seen the other seasons before, so I kind of knew like we'd probably have to do something like that. So yeah, I did know, but like I didn't know it was going to be Cam Newton. Like I kind of thought like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe we can just kind of like get through it. And like I don't like getting hit, but like it's just one challenge. It shouldn't be anything too horrible.
Mm-hmm. And that was my other thing when watching is like, was it? Do you know if it would have gone on until one of you had to be like medically removed?
No. The other matches were just called.
Okay.
It was funny. I really thought so. Like there was a point where like I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. I have no real expectations of winning this fight, but like I'm gonna try to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna like curl up in a ball or anything. And like there was a point where I got a couple good hits on him, and then that's kind of when I think like the switch kind of flipped, and that's when you see him like kind of like charge at me, and I don't know how to respond to that. So he knocked me down, and I was like, okay, phew, like this is over. He's won.
Yeah,
I made it. I remember I literally like remember thinking to myself like, oh. Like I didn't get medically rolled. We're okay. Because at this point I had seen like Marion go down and go see the medic and was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
but then we go back to our little corners, and then they're like, okay, come, like we're going again. Or basically like, all right, next round, come back. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough situation. Did you, when you fall down that first time, I mean, you guys get kind of close to a cliff edge, right? Like, were you aware of that?
No. No.
That's probably a good thing, I guess.
No, I mean, the DS had to jump on us to like, I mean, it was, I don't think that they will maybe, I don't think they anticipated maybe us moving all the way over that far. But yeah, we were closer to a cliff than we probably should have been.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, I mean, and I know one recruit noted it, and you can kind of hear the voiceover, but it was kind of like, oh, and it all happened very quickly too, right? So, anyway, well, that's a bummer. I'm disappointed we didn't get to see more of you on Special Forces.
Yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad that that my experience was like limited to that, but it is, as they say, it is what it is.
Yeah. So now, just having some time to reflect upon it, how do you have any takeaways from this experience? Or
Oh my gosh, actually, so many takeaways. So many takeaways. I actually like. I mean, if we talk about like the amount of like lessons kind of learned, or in like in a period of time, like that might be like some of the most intensive like bouts of learning of like human nature, I mean, maybe I've ever had. Everything else, I mean, you read a psychology book, it's fairly slow, right? You take a class, it lasts an entire semester. I mean, when I talk about my swimming experience, I was actually thinking about this the other day in the car. Like, my swimming experience spanned over so many years. It was very long, and all the experiences, like, I could really take time to reflect on them, and then I could, like, a lot of times I'd have a similar experience and then be able to compare it. This was all so acute, so very fast. And I mean, just like I had talked about, kind of like the behavioral psychology of like being in a group and panic, and how that kind of like manifests itself through a group. That was eye-opening. And like the way you can take that into, this is a SwimSwam podcast, the way that you can, take that and bring it into your own lives is like that happens at a swim meet too, right? Like how contagious like the anxiety can be from maybe like if there's a group of like 15 athletes there and only 2 or 3 of them are really having a hard time, like, that starts to like spread. But on the flip side of that, you have a really great leader who is able to kind of identify that and then kind of smooth things over and help those people work through that. That changes absolutely everything in terms of the results for how the meet goes, right? And like I got really good at just kind of turning it off and being in my own lane and kind of experiencing it, my meets through myself. And I think I maybe had like gone beyond like my age group experiences, or even like my NCAA experiences, which at this point are coming on like 15 years ago. But yeah, so whether it's positive or negative, like you can really, really, really affect a group based off of, how you respond to a particular stressor. Let's see. I mean, there were other little things too, like, like sprinters, especially as you get kind of to like the like latter days of my career, like I was very much like a cat, or like Lance Armstrong described it as like he was a baby, and like people basically were spoon feeding him, making sure he was resting. Like, right, we thought like I had like chiropractors and physical therapists and massage therapists in the training room and every recovery modality available to me at all times. And then if I like didn't feel great, like I would like be able to like fix it and feel as good as I could that day, and then still go and compete. Or, if we really, really needed to, and I was deep in the depths of overtraining, I could have a conversation with Dave and be like, hey, listen, like I it's not good for me to like really go 100% today. I think we should push this off until tomorrow or the next day, etc. So in that way, I just like really was always operating around this like idea that I needed to be at 100% to perform.
Mhm.
And like that probably like manifested itself in my like kind of life beyond swimming in ways that I hadn't anticipated and readied myself for. I mean, like anybody who's a parent knows they're not going to feel 100% of the time. um, so this experience kind of just like got me out of that mode a little quicker than I think you naturally exit that
Yeah.
mindset. Because again, we were tired, we were hungry, we were just operating at less than ideal. Like if any of us had to do mental math, we would have been like 70% of the speed, or like created way more errors than like we would have otherwise done if we were at home in whatever situation. But you just still have to get it done. And I think that mentality was helpful for me to just like kind of truly exit the realm of like peak performance into the realm of like real life.
Mm. Well, that is a perfect segue into what my next question was going to be, which is, do you think we'll see you at a swim meet anytime soon?
Oh, um, that's a good question. I don't know. I do enjoy going to the aquatic showcase at the Olympic Club.
Mhm.
Although I just talked to Bobby, the aquatics director there, also my 2005 national junior team teammate. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, it's a throwback, right?
That's awesome.
Um, they're going to start doing it every 2 years, but I was kind of sad. I still beat Murph last year. I'll still take that in the 33 and a third yard swim off of a block that doesn't have a wedge. Um, and next year, I think I don't remember exactly my time. 13 low. It was 13.0 or 13.1. I really want to go to 12.9. So I'll try to do that. Also, I mean, Griever's inspired me to try to make trials. So there's a chance that you might see me once the trial cuts come out and the window for qualifying for trials comes around. Shoot, I might have to even do like a local meet, right? Because all my times are gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to
Yeah.
qualify for 2028 trials. That would be fun.
Mhm. That's great to hear. That's what we want. We want Nathan back in the pool. Uh, um, I'm not sure if you'll be at this meet, but if you are, it's as a fan. Last thing I have to ask you about is men's NCAA's this year is going to be a barn burner, and Cal just threw some hot sauce on on the swimming dinner plate. Right? They brought in some top level talent. Um, Between Texas, Indiana, and Cal this year, it's going to be so close. Again, you're a dad. You're full time. You got a full time job. You're running a pool. I don't know how much you're paying attention to this, but how excited are you about this NCAA's just as a fan? And how good do you think Cal's chances are now?
Man, yeah, I don't follow it as closely as I would like, but I do know that we're just like complete. Like, I think now with like hindsight is a bias, like we're just completely through the 2009 like supersuit era and back to just people constantly, setting records higher and higher. And I think that is what makes the sport so exciting and so fun. And just like the transition into people swimming faster in season now and how that's translating to even faster times at the end of the season, which is really fun.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I had from those who are more well informed from me that I like to keep in touch with. I did know it was gonna like Indiana, Texas had really good really good rosters this year, and knowing Dave, I knew that he always has a plan. So I'm excited to watch. I mean, there's just no other way of putting it than that. And I know those guys. I'm not super well on the Cal team, but I know they love stepping up to a challenge and competing and like competing like freely and like in a way that they just want to see how fast they can go and how good the team can be and not with any like burden of like the like expectation of performance. And I think Dave does. Hats off to Dave and for leading them to that place. Culture wise, it's not easy, especially for a group that has been either first or second in NCAAs for so many years. Yeah, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about doing it again and again and again and again and again and again. I mean, it is fun to watch as a fan of the sport. You brought up one thing. I promise this is going to be the last question. But I thought that was interesting. You swam through that era, right? You were at your peak. You made your first Olympic team with super suits,
Yeah.
and then you swam through the era of having to adjust and get back to no, need a naval suits.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take it back too far, but just how do you feel like you got through that transition period, and how do you feel like we've gotten to where we are at now, like you said, where we don't have super suits anymore, but it's kind of like we do because people are swimming fast all of the time now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think like in the 2 seconds that you gave me to prepare for that question, I'll kind of like put it into three different buckets because there's just like
Okay.
it's too much to just try to come up with one answer for. And one, like
Sure.
physiologically, like there is just different training methodology now. Like the what was once new school is now kind of ubiquitous, and then there is even the new school on top of the new school, which is interesting to watch and see them as well. And then there is like the suits themselves. And I like, yes, it was this weird thing where you could just go out fast and like you would still die. Don't get me wrong. You would still die in the same way that you like would without a suit, but like you could just hold it together for some reason. And you could like, and for me, I wasn't a super like amazing underwater like kicker, but like I could still actually have some decent underwaters, kick out about halfway short course meters, and like it was just a total game changer. Um, and then like adjusting back from that to like, oh my gosh, like full body total tricep shutdown where like things are cramping and then they start like actually not moving for you anymore when your brain is like telling them to move.
Mhm.
That was different because you had to adjust like your race strategy. You can't just be like, I'm going to go out really fast and I'm going to hang on. Now you got to basically be like, I want to come back in, this time. And like, I'll just use 100 free, for example. I want to come back in a 24.5. What's the fastest I can go out while maintaining the energy and the feeling to come back that way? And then the other part of it, I just think the culture of the sport is just like I really subscribe to the idea and the notion that we are limited by our like beliefs and like how fast we need to go. Like in my era, I needed to go like a 20-point mid to low to get recruited to a top school. So my body figured out a way to do it, right? Like our brain, our body, like it's all one thing, and it's a problem-solving machine, right? Like your subconscious is going to figure out how to make that happen. And then, boom! Now we got to go like 19.5s, 19 lows, and people are figuring it out.
Yeah.
And yes, absolutely, part of it is the coaching and the physiology, and then like, the technique aspect of it too. But like there is absolutely this mental portion that has been unlocked because of it. And I always have so much respect because frankly, I wasn't as good at it as I wish I would have been. But I always had these barriers that were really difficult for me. Like statistically, the number of times I went a 22-0 or a 48-0 is just like beyond an anomaly. Like it's not, there was a barrier there. And like I did what I thought would have helped me push through it. But if I could go back, I would try something different because it didn't work. But yeah, that mental aspect of it is so very real. And just believing that you need to go so fast to do something is like, that's half the battle because your body and your like in your subconscious mind is going to figure out like how to get there. Like how hard do you need to train? Like is going like these repeats in practice fast enough? Like, no, 15 years ago, yes, it would have been. And I would shower afterwards with my teammates and be like, high five, great job, us. Whereas like now you would have that same set and you'd be like, dang, man, we still got to get on it. We need to work harder to figure this out and you just need to get it done.
Yeah. I like that this explanation was kind of similar to your takeaways from special ops. Like groupthink, group psychology, getting it done. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
my host way of tying this all together.
Yeah,
Nathan.
no, I love it. I think that's a great. I actually didn't put that together myself, and like, it is, man. It is just the belief aspect, man. The belief aspect is so powerful, so very real, and just like not getting caught up and like just not ever saying I can't do it. It's how can I do it?
Ooh, that's a perfect note to end on. So once again, Nathan, I appreciate you coming on here as always and sharing your experience with us in this pretty unique and cool thing you got to do, especially for swimming. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for having me, Coleman.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.